Good morning, everyone. So I came across a video online of someone telling about their 6 rules for success. Their 6 rules of worldly success, actually. They didn't say it that way. And I thought to transpose them, to relate them to the Dharma, to relate to spiritual success. So I'm going to dive right into them. The first one is have a goal. If you don't have a goal, you will be like a ship whose captain doesn't know where you're going, and you will go wherever the winds and the currents take you without really being steered properly. So, our goal as Dharma practitioners is to transform our minds, to abandon all non virtue and cultivate all virtue to its perfection, and to become awakened. And in the Mahayana, the goal is not enlightenment for its own sake, but to be able to have the best ability to benefit all sentient beings and to liberate them all from suffering. This is our ultimate goal. We have to have some idea of what this means and how to accomplish it. We have to know what to practice and what to abandon. And so the Buddha's teachings tell us this: what leads to liberation and what leads to states of sorrow. So we need to know what the fruits of the Buddhist practice are and the path leading to that. And I think all of that is to be found in studying the Four Noble Truths. So I've been reviewing the qualities of a Buddha. I'm working through the Lam Rim, and I'm at the section on refuge. And so I've been looking at the qualities of the Buddha and seeing how these wonderful qualities are so powerfully suited to benefiting sentient beings. The Buddha didn't develop any of these traits just for their own sake, but to benefit us. And so it's helpful to look at these qualities in order to deepen our refuge. But another purpose for that is to look and see what qualities we ultimately want to aspire to develop and how beneficial they can be in accomplishing the great goal of liberating all sentient beings. And we need guidance. Without the guidance of the teachings and teacher, we will be like that lost ship carried by the currents and the wind. So the second rule is don't listen to naysayers. And then the person gave a quote from Nelson Mandela: it always seems impossible until it's done. So we've all had conversations with people who don't believe in or validate our spiritual tradition, whether they have their own spiritual tradition or none at all. But I think the real concern for us here that relates to this is addressing our own doubts, the internal naysayer. Not worrying about someone else's perspective, but addressing things that come up for us. In discussing the topic of karma, Geshe Sopa gave some good advice on how to deal with ideas you feel resistant to. And though he was talking about karma, this can apply to other topics too. And here's kind of a summary of what he said. As we discuss the topic of karma, you may find that certain ideas make you uncomfortable or are not easy to follow. Other areas may seem clear and understandable. You should begin by concentrating on those areas that make sense to you and let yourself be influenced by those teachings so that your own behavior comes into harmony with what the Buddha is suggesting. When you come to ideas that are not so comfortable, not easy to understand, or which seem unbelievable and beyond your mental scope, the important thing is that you should not automatically deny them. You should leave your mind open. Think, I will not flatly reject these ideas. Maybe I will eventually understand them. Even when you find statements that are hard to accept, it is not good to immediately take a negative view. That can be dangerous. Leave the question open and take it as basis for further investigation. Meanwhile, you should base your behavior and your practice on the teachings about karma that make sense to you now. So we put the teachings into practice in our daily life, and we pay attention to how they affect our mind. This experiential validation of the teachings is tremendously important. So I've had a regular Dharma practice for regular meditation practice for about 6 years now. And during those 6 years, I've also been studying and trying to put the teachings into practice in my daily life. And my experience is that Buddhism, the Buddhist practices and the worldview have had very beneficial effect on my mind and consequently on my own behavior. And so for me, this is a very big part of what validates the teachings, because I have an experience of how beneficial they can be and seeing that they do produce, at least on the level I'm on, they produce the results that they say they will. And sure, I'm still a sentient being struggling with afflictions. 6 years and I haven't become enlightened yet. But, but I'm generally happier, stabler, and kinder than I was 6 years ago. And if I continue to habituate myself to virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind, then I can expect to move closer and further towards my goal. Remember that we all have the Buddha nature, and that we can eradicate the defilements and cultivate the wonderful qualities of a Buddha. The third rule is work your butt off. Things don't happen without causes and effort. Use your time well. So from a Dharma perspective, of the 37 harmonies of enlightenment, or with enlightenment, 9 are efforts. 9 of them are listed as efforts. This shows an emphasis on effort in making spiritual progress. Shantideva said, having patience, I should develop enthusiasm, for awakening will dwell only in those who exert themselves. Just as there is no movement without wind, so merit does not occur without enthusiasm. And in the enthusiasm he's talking about here is joyous effort. To achieve our goal, we have to apply effort and create the causes and conditions for awakening. If we create the causes, we will experience the results. And if we do not create the causes, we won't experience the results. This is the third of the 4 general rules of karma. Worldly success is sometimes, maybe often, achieved through effort derived from a manic obsession with one's goal. I don't think that's healthy. So there's a little interchange from a sutra I want to read here. Once a deva appeared in Jeta's grove and asked the Buddha, how, dear sir, did you cross the flood? By not halting, friend, and by not straining, I crossed the flood. But how is it, dear sir, that by not halting and not straining you crossed the flood? When I came to a standstill, friend, then I sank. But when I struggled, then I got swept away. In this way, friend, it is in this way, friend, that by not halting and not straining, I crossed the flood. So we need a middle way. We need to use our energy wisely and neither squander it on unimportant distractions nor burn ourselves out without resting. And here's some more wisdom from Shantideva. When my strength declines, I should leave whatever I am doing in order to be able to continue with it later. The 4th rule is, don't have a plan B. Having a plan B can be an expectation of failure. All the energy and effort you put into this plan is energy and effort that could have gone into making plan A succeed. This one I had a hard time relating to. It seemed to reflect an inflexibility of mind, and for sure we need to develop flexibility of mind and ability to adapt to changing situations and changing understandings, because we're trying to learn what we don't know, and as we learn more, then we have to be able to adapt with what we understand. But reflecting on this a bit, I was able to see that that's not really the point of this. It's not really about being inflexible. It's about not doubting yourself and not squandering your energies and resources on things that don't relate to your goal. For Dharma practitioners, this could be a matter of avoiding despondency or having a poor self-image, thinking I can't do it, everybody else can become enlightened but not me. and of not being caught up in eight worldly concerns, not letting the trivial concerns of this life end up becoming our goal. And the fifth is don't be afraid of failure. We all fail. Losers give up while winners give up while winners get up again and again and again. Here I see several things. One is not to exaggerate negativities. Do not mistake disappointment for catastrophe or disaster. We are sentient beings and we make mistakes. When you get overwhelmed by your afflictions, be compassionate towards yourself and move on. To fall is one thing, to not get back up is another. And here again, we need a middle way, not complacency with our faults, and not despondency or self-criticism in a way that gets to be a hindrance. We need a gentle acceptance of ourselves and where we are now, and a confident determination to continue to progress towards awakening. We need confidence conjoined with humility. It takes a certain level of confidence to be able to recognize and face our faults without falling into despondency. And it takes confidence and humility to accept and admit our mistakes. Our defilements are not an intrinsic part of ourselves. But it takes effort and repeated practice to subdue them. And ultimately, we will remove them completely. And the sixth one, be of benefit to others. Remember the kindness of others. Have a bigger view than just yourself. Connect in a benevolent way. Help others as you've been helped. And I was really glad that this was in with this person's list of success, rules of success. The person who came up with this recognized and acknowledged that their success was made possible partially by those who were kind and generous to them when they had no furniture, no plates, no silverware, and no bedding. People who came and gave things and helped out. And that not only provided material support, but also emotional support and inspiration. They really were just moved by the kindness of others. And in Mahayana Buddhism, we want to develop these attitudes very deeply and very vastly. We want to meditate on the kindness of others through thinking of the benefit we have received from all beings through countless lives since beginningless time. I find this topic a very joyful topic, very connecting when I think about the kindness of others. And that's why we practice it. We use these meditations to develop an attitude that recognizes and appreciates the kindness of others and develop a real appreciation of others, and from there develop a strong sense of love and kindness and compassion towards them. And we will then want to develop the great resolve I will work to free all sentient beings from their suffering. And then the altruistic intention to become fully awakened so that we have the best qualities to benefit all. And the qualities to make it possible to be able to help lead others to full awakening, which gets us back to our goal. And bodhicitta will be our inner guide, leading us to create the causes and conditions to achieve that goal.